Everybody knows the title of that song, right? It's called Gel by Collective Soul. That's what we all do when we come here. We come together and we gel. We come from many different places, many different backgrounds. And I always kind of like to start with a little humor. You may find this very little humor. But there was a father whose son he caught frequently fibbing to him. So I'm sure he went to Amazon and he ordered a robot that slaps you every time you tell a lie. So they're sitting there at the dinner table and he explains, I bought this robot and every time you don't tell the truth, it's going to come over and it's going to give you a slap to straighten you out. He says, where were you last night? I was up at Billy's house. Oh yeah? What were you doing up there? We were doing our homework. Robot comes over, whap! All right. We were watching, playing video games. Robot comes over and goes, whap! He's like, all right, we were watching adult videos. The father's like, are you kidding me? At that age, I knew nothing about that kind of stuff. Robot comes over to the father, whap! He's like, jeez, and the mom's over there laughing her butt off. He's like, what's so funny? She's like, well, it's not hard to tell that he's your son. Robot comes over, whap, slaps the mom. Jersey humor. I'm a Jersey guy too. I'm in Pennsylvania now, but I started within the borders. So it's allergy season now. And I know some of you, like I, watch headline news occasionally. You're familiar with Bob Van Dillen. He's a Jersey boy. Grew up somewhere around the coast here, I think near Asbury Park. And I just like the guy. He's cool. I'd like to hang out with him for an evening and just chat. And the one morning, Rob and Meade, they put the chart up, you know how they do with the map that shows the pollen count. And it's really high. And Robin's like, oh, Bob, what's going on? I see the pollen's really high. How's that going to play out? He's like, yeah, it was a rough morning for me, Robin. I got my Claritin and my Cialis mixed up, and it's been a long morning so far. Think about that for a second. Okay. So anyway, you're here for me as much as I'm here for you today. I just want to give a quick reflection back on my year. That's kind of what Sunday is. When I found out I was speaking on Sunday, it put a whole new dynamic in my head because you can't prepare anything, because anything you prepare, somebody's going to talk about on Friday or Saturday. So you got to roll with it. My year has been crazy starting, well, last April I was here. In June, my father, who was 92 at the time, started having some health issues. And he was in a senior living community, which he was doing real well. He lived in independent living in his own apartment. All of a sudden he had some colitis, uncontrollable. We couldn't figure out what was going on. So they moved him to the more intensive care unit of the senior facility. As he's getting rehabbed, he did have some Parkinson's and some early signs of dementia as well, not real severe. But he's going through rehab, and he falls and breaks his hip. So he broke his left hip in July, 3 hours after my family and I arrived in Maine for our summer vacation. Thank goodness my in-laws are in the picture. They helped out. They said, we'll report if anything you need to come home for, we'll let you know. Enjoy your trip. So we enjoyed our trip. So we come back, and things are rolling along really good. And this was just a quick picture I found. This is me in my young days. My friend Scott on the left, me in the middle, and my cousin Kenny on the right. We were some badass biker kids. Whoops, going the wrong way. In the end of July, this is my buddy Norm Benning. He races NASCAR trucks. And I've helped him a couple times on the pit crew. And those of you who have ever seen NASCAR racing where they roll into the pits real fast. What's that? Oh, yeah, NASCAR fan. So he tells me, like, literally a week before I'm supposed to go up, Jeff, if you can get your NASCAR test done for drug testing, I'd like to have you on the crew because we're a little bit short. I've grown up working on race cars most of my life, watching them, and I love that stuff. So I get my test done. I go in, and he says, oh, are you okay on the front tires all by yourself? I'm like, I have never done this before. You want me to do this all by myself? He says, yeah. You can handle it, right? I'm like, sure, I'll do it. So you got a big tire with a steel belted radial with an inner liner and a steel wheel. I grab that with my left hand, I grab the air gun with my right, and I go backwards so I don't get the hose caught around there. Zing, 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 like on TV. Put the new tire on, zing, zing, zing. Go around to the other side, do that side, off goes Norm. That was really cool. Bucket list, check. So that was an up. This whole year has been kind of like this. So now, September rolls around, 2 o'clock in the morning, I get another phone call. Dad fell and broke his right hip. The first hip he broke, he had a complete hip replacement at 92 years old. He's away from being 93 in October by a few days, has a second full hip replacement. And, you know, some people, they don't see things the way others do. And we honestly felt like, please, God, he suffered enough the first time. If he goes to sleep for this procedure and doesn't wake up, it's a blessing. The man has really suffered. If he'd have walked into a place and saw somebody like he was, he would have said, don't let me ever get like that poor son of a bitch. Please don't. But we don't have a choice. So he goes through the second hip surgery and rolls right along. And then next thing you know, you'll recognize this driving suit. Recognize these guys. Dr. Kevin, Dr. Gary, Dr. George, and myself, they're all in this room here with me. They're my support group as well. And I didn't realize now I was in the presence of 3 PHCs. Wow. Thanks to George yesterday getting his PHC. So that was really cool. So we did a little go-kart thing up there. I won't go into detail, but it's a 3-hour race. And a lot of it's about team building and working together. Real good stuff. So things go on. And my dad is kind of just holding steady, but you can see him declining a little. And he wound up in a nursing facility. Some people refused to do that we felt it was the best at the time. So George is there, and day by day, you just never know. I'd get calls in the middle of the night. We got to let you know your dad just fell again, but he's okay, blah, blah, blah. Pins and needles. And then in January, with all these things going on, we decide we're going to sell our house. Okay, well, that's no big deal, right? It's like HGTV. You go and you look at 3 nice houses and you just pick one and your deal is over, because that's how it works on House Hunters. Well, it doesn't work like that in real life. We went through a roller coaster of stuff. We had money down on a property, and as it turns out, it didn't work out. So we withdraw the offer. Our house is still on the market. 3 days later, somebody gives us an offer on our house. Now we got nowhere to go. So we went back to one that we looked at previously. We liked it. We're like, why didn't we pick this one? It worked out for the best. This past Monday, we closed on the new house, and now we're going to be moving out of our current house on the 13th and selling it on the 16th. And now I'm back at New Beginnings. It's been quite a ride this year. The one thing that New Beginnings family kind of centers around, there's 2 words that I came up with, is choice and gratitude. It's tough to be grateful sometimes with the choices we make because of the result that comes out of it. But you got to expect that every choice you make is for the right, it's meant for you, it's God's plan for you, it's where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. And Jim Rohn, the motivational speaker, always said the one thing you should do is find fascination out of frustration. And if you can do that when the guy cuts you off and flips you the bird, and all those things, it's not easy to do for a lot of us, myself included. And we've all had those times where we've slipped, but we've checked and we've gotten ourselves back up where we need to be. Choices like my situation with my family. I have my lovely wife, Wendy, and my daughter, Josie, back there for the first time ever hearing me speak in front of an audience. And I'm actually more nervous that they're here than you guys are here, to be honest with you. Because I want Daddy to do a good job for them as well. But the choice on October 11th, 2001, which was a month after 9/11 happened in New York City, Wendy and I both decided to go for a mountain bike ride at Jacobsburg Park, which is a local park near where we live. Just out of the blue, about the same time, we're in the parking lot. I see this nice young lady with a bicycle all by herself. And being a man, I went, that's interesting. And I didn't say anything at the time. I let her ride off. And I thought, you idiot. Here's the woman you've been looking for, a biker girl that rides a mountain bike in the park where you are. She must live close by. Go find her. I set off on a mission. And I zigged and zagged through the trails, did my thing. And I came to an intersection, and there was Wendy talking with some other dude. And I'm like, I don't care who this dude is. I'm going to talk to her as well. I said, are you lost? And she said, oh, I've been here a little bit before, but I'm not real familiar with the trails. I said, well, let's ride. So we rode, and we talked. And within 5 minutes, we found out both of us had a favorite beer, which was Sam Adams Oktoberfest. Out of all the beers in the world. Like, this is cool. She likes what I like, as well as other things we talked about. We had both been to Zion that summer as well, at different occasions for different reasons. And that choice led to us getting married, which eventually led to, first of all, my daughter, Josie. Her full name is Jocelyn. We call her Josie because it's cute, and so is she. So Wendy didn't know much about chiropractic. She had severe Lyme disease when I met her, so that she was coming out of. And through getting adjusted, those severe headaches and everything started to go away. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And we started to see her come back to life again. She literally lost the job that she had at ESPN because of the chronic fatigue and couldn't function anymore. So she had been living with her parents for a while, and we kind of nursed her back. But then we decided to have a family. So Wendy had found out a lot more about how I feel about immunizations. I suggested a midwife. We picked the midwife in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Her name is Larice. Awesome lady. She knows she's the genome of the Lehigh Valley. She knows all about birth and babies and how to do it natural and how to make it happen. And we go through the whole process, and we wind up with a C-section. And believe me, my wife did more than I would have done before we got to that point. 20-some hours of labor. I'm just like, honey, whatever it takes for you is good with me. Let's just do it. So then out comes Josie, and of course I follow her around to make sure nobody's putting anything in her eyes or putting anything in her body. And then we get her in the bassinet cleaned up, and I palpate her atlas and just do a little pressure work and make sure she's clear. So a couple years later, Ryan comes around, and we're going to go back to Larice, and we're going to do a VBAC because that's what people can do now. You don't have to go have another cesarean. And we go through the whole shebang, and next thing you know, boom, we're back in having another cesarean. Like, come on, it's frustrating, but there's a plan. And we had to make those choices, but the choices resulted in this. How can you say you made a bad choice? And Josie, when she was 1.5 years old, got very lethargic, had trouble breathing, was laying on the couch with a fever. I adjusted her, checked her 2 or 3 times a day. We took her to the hospital. She had pneumonia. I saw it on the x-rays, fluid in her lungs. You know what? We made the choice to do an IV antibiotic overnight, and that next morning that little girl was holding my hand and running down the hall with me, happy as could be. I don't run to medical doctors for every little thing, but that was my choice at that point as a new parent with my first child, along with my wife, to do that. I don't feel I let myself down. I don't feel I let chiropractic down. That was the choice, and I am grateful to this day for that choice. That little girl can run like the wind. She plays soccer. She runs cross country, and everybody follows her and tries to catch her. Her lungs are fine. There were no side effects. Ryan, on the other hand, had a broken leg at 1.5 years old. Obviously, we went to the medical doctor. I don't know if you're familiar with a striker cast, but it's a cast that goes down one leg because his fracture was in the femur, and then they have to put it down the other leg because he's so little and connect it with a bar so he can't move his legs. So here we are. This little boy is also about 1.5 years old, and you have to use 2 diapers when you change a child that's in the striker cast because there's a little one that goes in, you tuck in around the cast, then you put the big number 6 around the outside and tape it up. And yes, I did change a lot of diapers because I'm a pit crew guy. So I can change diapers just like the pit crew. Boom, 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 boom. I was at a couple picnics and their moms were like, wow, that's impressive. Like, you're damn right because I know how to change a diaper. I can do it faster than any other guy in this room probably to this day. Another main picture. And we do kind of nice family hikes, climbing up the side of cliffs and all those things. That's our thing. That was my dad at his 90th birthday. Everything was okay. He was still an older gentleman, sort of failing. But my dad worked in the ice cream industry in New Jersey. Everybody in the state of New Jersey knew him. He was dubbed the Ice Cream King of New Jersey. He was also the president of the National Ice Cream Mix Association, which I'm sure a lot of you don't even know exists. We'd have annual conventions down in Florida. And George was loved by many. Cliff, there's a place called Cliff's Dairy Made up in Ledgewood. Some of you may know of it. It's up on Route 10 off of Route 80, right when you come off heading east. And Cliff was never going to be in the ice cream cake business. And my dad went up there and said, I can show you how to make ice cream cakes. And Cliff told this at my dad's funeral. My dad passed away January 29th. And he said, yeah, I went in the back and George came out with 2 cakes. He says, Cliff, here's a couple so I can show you what they look like. And there was a guy standing at the window and says, hey, can I buy one of them? He's like, yeah, okay. And another guy's like, oh, I'll take the other one. He's like, and then I was in the ice cream cake business. But that's how George was. A lot of people loved him. A lot of people followed him. And I'm only hoping that I, as well as the rest of us, can make that connection. My dad had a connection on this level. And I can't believe my time is just about up. I was going to talk about all my New Beginnings experiences this weekend. I have reconnected with so many people. When that Strauss book came up that was personalized to Ernie Landy yesterday, as soon as I heard it was personalized and Susan started reading it, I was like, that's my book. And the ticket came up, I'm like, that's my book, thank you. And I'm going to treasure that book. This has been a weekend for me beyond compare. I thank you all for being here. I wish I had another 50 minutes. Thank you.
Jeff Wack, starting the morning off strong.